everybody, I'm Gabe. I'm the engineering lead at Untapped. Quick tip if you use phone.com, they're awesome, but make sure to QoS the MAC addresses of the phones so they don't go down. You'll have a lot of unhappy salespeople. It's a lesson I didn't learn in a fun way. So that's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm here to tell you about Untapped. Oh, I don't have the clicker, right. Cool. So Untapped is a tech hiring platform that replaces the traditional recruiter with machine intelligence. We did a quick search on Indeed for Java developer jobs in New York City, and we found 2,120 open positions. So obviously, there's a huge need. There are jobs that can't be filled out there. We found another stat. 70% of software engineers are unhappy in their current job. So if there's 2,120 just Java developer jobs, just in New Jersey, and 70% of software developers are unhappy, obviously this market is ineffective. It's not working. So there's a couple of ways to search for a job. One is to go to a job board. You can type in Java developer in New York State. You can see, I don't know if you can read this, but there's junior jobs, there's senior jobs, there's two jobs with the same title that are completely different. You have no idea where they are. You might not even see the company. This is not an effective way to look for a job. The other way to do it is to talk to my good friend, Steve. Steve's a recruiter. Steve called me like 3 times today, and he left a voicemail every time. I'm sure he called you guys too. Right, he calls you up. He's got the perfect job for you, and he doesn't even tell you what company he's at. He's trying to make money off of you. It's not a great experience. So the solution is a web platform with artificial intelligence and machine learning. What we have for you guys, as far as a user experience, is an end-to-end web platform for both candidates and our clients who are hiring. So you can go on as a candidate, you can sign up, you can upload your resume, we'll parse your resume, and then we will use our artificial intelligence to match you to the perfect job for you. Similarly, for our clients, you go on, you fill out the form, you set up your job, specify what you're looking for, and that goes into this system and matches the two up. And we're trying to make this market very efficient. How does it work? We use all sorts of really, really cool technology, from TF-IDF transformations to deep vector space embeddings to deep neural networks with tens of thousands of parameters and all this cool, fancy stuff that everybody's talking about. And it works. It works for tech recruiting. So we're very excited about it. We started in August of 2014. We now have 27,000 members and over 80 different companies that you'll see jobs at. And just a little pitch for we're hiring in New Jersey. JP Morgan, BNY Mellon, RBC are some of our clients that are hiring right here in Jersey. If that's where you're interested in working, go on and sign up. So that's what I'm going to ask for. I know I'm not supposed to pitch, but I want everybody to go on, make an account, see if you can find any jobs that you're interested in. And otherwise, if you're looking to hire, come talk to Amy, and we'll get you signed up. Thanks. Any questions? Yeah.
I get the 27,000 subscribers, and how long did it take to get that?
So we started in August 2014. So today minus then is about 2 years. And primarily through digital marketing. So across channels like Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Google AdWords, et cetera, is where we do most of our acquisition.
What was the most successful?
It's interesting. It kind of varies because we really look at I don't know how familiar everybody is with marketing, but there's sort of cost per acquisition. So when you're looking at cost per acquisition, it kind of fluctuates. So we've seen most success between Facebook and Google AdWords. Yeah, what's up?
So you mentioned that you're hoping that managers are the ones that are actually striving to look for it. A lot of our companies there.
Mm-hmm.
So for those companies, they generally have their own internal systems.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you actually ensure that you're getting managers to hit this up on your system versus what they're just generally sending out to HR?
Yeah, it's a good question. So obviously at the smaller companies, that's less of an issue because there are less of those sort of existing processes in place. At the larger companies, we integrate with ATS systems, things like that. And then if it's a very large company, we'll work directly with the HR team there and try to figure out how best Untapped can fit into the existing HR processes that they have in place. And sometimes we build custom solutions, integrate with new ATSs. Sometimes there's a few manual things involved. So we have a lot. We have a lot of options around it, but it varies based on the size of the company. So.
Yes, so I work for a digital ad agency. I do the question, what do you find your
So I'm not going to put a dollar figure out there up on up on stage. So obviously the market that we're targeting is highly sought after, right? So we put in on the Facebook side, targeting people with computer science degrees, et cetera, is very expensive, obviously, because there are other people in this space going after the same people. And then similarly, in AdWords, the keywords are very expensive. So I don't have the figures off the top of my head for individual channels, but let's chat about it afterwards. I'm happy to go into more detail. Yeah.
So when you say machine learning, are you talking about keyword matches or how exactly is machine learning?
So I kind of glossed over that quickly, but I was hoping someone would ask for more detail. So what we do is a few different things. Really what we're working with is resume data, which if you're familiar with machine learning is super, super high dimensional and complex. So our challenge is to reduce that dimensionality and then to build a system that can match it up with a job. So we use techniques like vector space models. So I don't know if you've ever seen the king minus man equals queen vector analogy. It basically takes the little, we call them blurbies, that you write about your job and describe what you did, and it takes that text and it puts it into a vector in sort of n-dimensional space. So the dimensionality of the whole thing is huge because you use thousands of words in hundreds of n-grams, right? And what it's able to do is reduce it down to just 10 numbers, basically a vector. And then that's something that you can sort of conceivably put into a classifier. And then we use deep neural networks as classifiers because they let us, we also bring in features from the jobs, like what skills the jobs are looking for. And these models let us model the interactions between those two things. Yeah. It's a good question. We work with data like what happens within our platform. So have you been interviewed at other companies before, et cetera? Have you been rejected by everybody? So we haven't brought in that kind of extra data, but it's something we're definitely look at as an opt-in for our candidates. Yeah. So Steve charges 25% of the salary of the candidate that he places, right? So that's a lot of money in this space. The median is probably about $25,000 on a contingency basis. We don't do that at all. We sell it like software as a service. So it's subscription pricing. Based on the number of roles that you want to have open, we'll come to an agreement on a monthly fee, and you pay us like that. And you can hire as many people as you want into those roles. And there's no complex sort of contingency requirements. Yeah.
We're out of time.
Cool.
However, hang out. So if you've been to this before, you kind of know what's up next. But if you haven't, one of the things after having done this for 77 months that I've seen a lot of is people who struggle on stage. And to help guide some of that, we've invited in someone who's a communications trainer, and that's Eleanor. And so she's going to give the final word with each of the pitches tonight, critiquing and suggesting what people might do to be more effective in the future. So welcome, Eleanor.
Thank you. Oh, thank you. Oh, an NJ Tech round of applause. I love it. Well, you do not struggle on stage.
Thank you.
Sir. I think we can all agree you come across as very relaxed. One thing that you'll note with Gabe is that his presentation mode is the same as what you might call an impromptu mode. And I think those of us who've seen a lot sometimes see somebody go, okay, I'm formally presenting, and then it's question time, and then they relax into themselves. There's no click with you, which I think is really good. In fact, I'm just going to list a few really good things that you did. I thought you had good vocal variety, meaning you let us know verbally what to listen to. You varied your pitch, pace, power, all that stuff. I thought you did a great job of inviting the audience into the story. You put us in there with you. You made us picture being called by Steve. All that sort of stuff was good. Your imagery was good. You have a great open posture and a great relaxed posture. I guess in certain situations you might not want to lean on the podium. Tonight I thought it was totally appropriate. I love that you've got a nice energetic pace. I want to caution you to watch when it starts to compromise your enunciation. Every so often it became a little bit garbled. The other thing that I want you to check out for is your use of We all do it. We all do it. We call the opposite of it linguistic precision. Now, is not a capital P problem. I say this all the time. Those of you who've been here before will have heard me say it before. But it's a symptom of something. In you, rather than it being something you use to think of the next word, you use it to let the audience know this is a full stop. Here is my next sentence. That's a good question. Right? It's not a big deal. I don't think it really interrupted your message, but you don't need it. So I would just challenge you to see what happens when you get really specific about the first word choice and take it out. To that end, I brought my corks tonight. I talk about corks all the time, right? Has anyone been here when I've talked about corks? And normally I put my fingers in my mouth and it looks kind of violent. I brought corks tonight. If anyone wants one, you, sir, I think would benefit from this exercise. It basically involves putting an impediment between your teeth and needing to make sure you're completely understood even while speaking through the cork. It's a great way to warm up your articulators, to challenge yourself to be really specific about your word choice, and to correct that enunciation problem. Otherwise, as I say, a list of great jobs, really good pitch.
There's a lot of compliments. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I told you that was awesome. And Regina from Rapid, you're good. How about a big round of applause welcoming up Regina?
Thank you.
If I get her down. There we go. Whenever you're ready.
Hi, everyone. I'm Regina Jaslow. I'm the Director of Marketing at Rapid SOS. We're an emergency communications tech startup, and we're based in Manhattan. I do live in Hoboken, and I've lived in Hoboken since 1999. I'd like to talk to you about Chanel Anderson. She's a 31-year-old lady who lives in Atlanta, and she wakes up awfully early each morning to deliver newspapers. So one foggy morning at 4:15 a.m., she's delivering newspapers, and she accidentally drives into a pond. She calls 911 on her cell phone, and she clearly articulates her location. She knows exactly where she is. The 911 dispatcher, however, did not know her location in terms of her location on her maps. And they're fumbling through this for a while, and they finally figure out that she has reached the wrong 911 center. So they transfer her to the correct one, and help is dispatched to her 20 minutes later. She is found in a pond, but she doesn't survive it. So this is really a great and dangerous problem that 911 is facing every year. We have 180 million calls to 911 on cell phones, and most of them cannot be located. Why? Because 911 is built on an infrastructure from the 1960s that was meant for landlines, not mobile phones. And you must always, always know your location. Otherwise, help is never going to come your way. You must also be able to have a coherent conversation with 911 dispatchers. Otherwise, they don't know what kind of help you need. A fire truck, an EMT truck, they have no idea. And this is how it works. When you're calling from your cell phone, you think that your GPS chip is at work and they have your location, but that's not true. What they actually have is the network tower's address, and that's what they use to connect you to the 911 center closest to you. And then, just like Chanel Anderson's situation, when they determine that that's not actually your location, when have you found yourself standing by a network tower, they will have to transfer you to the correct 911 center, and then you repeat yourself, and the whole process takes 3 to 5 minutes, could be longer, especially if you are discombobulated and you can't speak, or you just don't know where you are. And really, we should be using all of the technology that your cell phone has. Wi-Fi connectivity, Bluetooth, cellular connectivity, all of these pieces should be coming together to help you during your emergency. And your phone is a wonderful piece of technology that you can do lots of things with. You can take photos, videos, even do language translation. But when you're in an emergency, none of that works, only voice. And that really doesn't cut it for us when we're in an emergency. So we set out to develop Haven. It is a smartphone app, and with one touch, you can summon help and send your precise GPS location to 911, including your type of emergency, your personal demographic and medical information too, with that one tap. If thereafter your battery dies or you just can't speak, you go unconscious, the help is already on the way. So when you tap that 4-tile screen, you get to this map screen where you can confirm your location. You can add in your unit number or your floor number, and you can then talk to 911 like you normally do if you can speak. If you cannot speak, you can then tap this I can't speak button, and then you can text 911. Texting 911 is not possible today in 90% of the country because they don't have texting capability. Haven solves that problem. The next feature of Haven is Family Connect. We're here in New Jersey, and if you have a loved one in Florida who is in trouble and contacts you and says, please contact 911 for me, you're going to pick up the phone, call 911, and you're going to reach Hoboken's 911 center. And then you have to tell them the whole story about why you're calling for someone else in Florida. With Haven, you can now add family members, and when they are in need, you can trigger an alert for them, reaching the 911 center closest to their handset location and sending their personal demographic and medical information so help can come their way. The last feature of Haven is the international feature. When you travel overseas, chances are you don't know the emergency numbers of that country. So Haven senses that you're in a different country and will provide you that information. So this is our team. We have 25 full-time people in Manhattan, and we are hiring, so please come check out our website, rapidsos.com. And we won a bunch of awards. Most recently, we won the Consumer Technology Association Startup of the Year Award, and we have raised $10 million in Series A. And we are probably looking for funding in 2017 for Series B. And we've been written up by a bunch of press, including Time from just 2 days ago, and New York Times saying that this is a life-saving smartphone app that you should have. And with that, I'd like to invite you to please download the app. And it's available on Google Play and the App Store. And please check out our website, RapidSOS. We are hiring. Thank you. Q&A? Yes, please.
Is it available for Android?
Yes. Go ahead. Yes. So one of the ways we are trying to disseminate this app is working with nonprofit organizations that serve the disabilities community, domestic violence, and those with medical conditions. Yes.
How did you get the local municipalities to actually buy into this and believe you and say that you?
Yes, so there was a lot of skepticism when we reached out to 911 centers across the nation. We were started at MIT and Harvard, and so we reached out to the Cambridge 911 Center, and they had educated us tremendously over the past 3.5 years. We've been actually at it for that long because there are 6,300 911 centers across the nation. And we've been testing the app, and they have been testing it and beating it up and giving us a lot of feedback. So when they saw that it works, they know exactly what their problems is with like jurisdiction boundaries, for example. So they've been testing it under bridges, in tunnels, in the subway system in New York City, at jurisdiction boundaries to make sure that it goes to the correct 911 center. So when they saw that it actually works, they became bought in. And Cambridge is obviously our very first municipality that signed up for it. So they actually distribute the app locally to all their 100,000 residents. And they actually sometimes go door to door helping the elderly to get this downloaded into their phones. Yes.
So do all the municipalities have to agree to work with the app, or is it automatic?
No, the app works automatically across the nation. Yeah. Yes. So if you download the app today, the App Store, it is a free download. It is a subscription-based plan for now. It's $2.99 for individuals. on a monthly plan and a $4.99 a month for the family plan where you can add family members. However, we do expect that consumers will probably see resistance towards this pricing model. So we are planning to monetize through business-to-business relationships. So for example, we did a white paper study, and just on the insurance side, we see a $90 billion amount of savings from claims where lives can be saved and injuries can be reduced. And so we do see that insurance companies could be paying for this. And we are also looking to integrate this technology into wearables, connected cars, things like that. And so the technology can be licensed. Yes?
Does the information feed in at the dispatcher, or is there a way to get like the text, audio, or video actually to respond?
Yes. Yes. So right now, we launched the app 3 months ago. So what we did was we built a data bridge. So all that data from your phone is going into the current 911's console, and they don't actually have to download any new software, go through any new training. It just now has correct addressing and information there. So some of the rich media features like photos and videos, which can be pushed to 911 centers, the 10% that actually does receive text message, they can actually receive photos and videos from us. So regarding pushing data further beyond the 911 centers to first responders, we have a potential investor in us that is a very large player in that space, and they are looking to enable that too, so that first responders will have situational awareness by seeing the photos and videos, which is actually more helpful to them than 911 dispatchers. Yeah. Go ahead.
We are out of time.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
I can't tell tonight if you're making my life easy or harder because I'm supposed to give feedback, and they're very, very strong presentations that we're seeing tonight. Again, I think you have a mode that's warm, authentic, substantial, credible. So that's all coming across very strongly for you. I'll keep this one quick. I just have a question about your story at the beginning. I love stories as part of pitches. They're very strong and they're underutilized. I'm not sure whether it's because you rushed through it a little bit, but I wondered, and I'll just ask you, is it a true case study?
Oh, yes.
It didn't feel true to me. It felt hypothetical, right? So specifics are going to be your friend with a story. If you want to introduce me to somebody and take me through what actually happened, I would encourage you to give me as many specifics as you can so that I can see it, feel it, and get those goosebumps that make me desperate to know how you solved that really life-threatening, critical problem. Again, I'm not sure whether it was just that because you were restricted by time or because you wanted to get to the meat of your pitch, but I would sit in that story a little bit more because I think it's a really powerful launch.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right. And where's Brandon? Somewhere in here. There he is. All right. Big round of applause for our last one of the night.
Thank you.
Come on. You can do it.
Okay, so I'll just wait.
I just screwed up your first slide. You're welcome.
Yeah, you'll probably have a little bit more to critique me on than the
Oh, there we
last
go.
two. Okay, so I'm Brendan Siegenfeld, the founder of epistocracy.com, which is a political social network that allows for people to connect on an issue-by-issue basis. Now, what we were really trying to solve with this, and what we found was the core problem in our democracy, was that as society has become more advanced, our ability as voters to have a fully encompassing political opinion on every single political issue has become lost, because each issue has become more complex and the number of political issues that we have to address is more numerous than ever before. So to give you a little bit of background, I started this 3 years ago. It started off as a very, very basic interface. And from there, we were able to raise actually $100,000 in seed funding and go through 10 minor iterations, 3 major pivots to reach our current stage where we're at right now. And one of the, what I'll get into is the reason why we had to go through so much development is because we had created a very unique connection model, which required a lot more testing on the user interface side of things. So two things to preface before we actually get into the actual site itself. This market is very unique because it's very slow moving, both in terms of the adoption rates at which politicians adopt technology, and also the rate at which people change their viewpoints. So it's different than pretty much any other fast-moving social networks that currently exist online. The other thing is we discuss very sensitive topics. Since we are a nonpartisan site, we have to, both our marketing material and our user interface has to avoid falling into the Democratic or Republican side of the lanes. Otherwise, we isolate a whole entire section of our user population. In addition, it raises the huge moderation issues of censorship versus actually moderating the site correctly. Now, how it actually works, we obviously worked on a very complex philosophy and problem, and therefore had to create a complex system to actually develop it in terms of and cram this into a simple user interface. So to give you an idea, your political identity is made up of all your views on major political issues. So if you think about it, that there's probably about 85 or so major national level issues. Now, we allow for people to take a stance on a particular political issue and their reasoning or justification on why they should have that particular stance. Now, what this does is it kind of creates your political identity for each issue that you could possibly affect when you vote for a representative. So imagining that blue blob right now as your political identity on, let's say, Obamacare. If other users found you and decide to support you or connect with you on that issue, they'd actually be adopting your stance and reasoning on that. Now, the reason why this is a big deal versus any other connection system online currently is because if other people support those users, let's say their friends, you're pretty much creating a political hierarchy where everybody is aligned with one particular political viewpoint. So now, if I, as let's say the leader of this hierarchy, decide to change my stance or reasoning, my supporters have the option of either accepting that change or stopping support, and their supporters face the same decision. So this results in some people possibly accepting the stance change and some others, let's say, breaking support. So what this does is it allows for these hierarchies to potentially impact politicians, because now they can offer their change in stance, one person, which makes it easier for politicians to affect their constituents. And by these two people compromising on their stance and viewpoint, once they reach consensus, the leader, by offering support, they would actually adopt pretty much their stance and justification would actually be aligned. So it would create this ripple throughout this whole entire hierarchy, instead of politicians trying to target people one by one as they do currently. Now, future of epistocracy is definitely in development, because at least on the monetization end, we would offer the pretty much the most accurate data analytics of any other company, any other polling system out there at the moment, because right now they mainly use mail-in surveys and phone calls to landlines to gather polling data. In this case, we'd have real-time data analytics on every single stance in a user's profile. Another thing is accepting donations through our platform, both for NGOs and politicians. This allows for small people to now have a huge political voice, because what they're able to do is, let's say, if you remember that hierarchy from before, if each one of these people had donated $1 to, let's say, a politician, separately they're worth nothing. But together, as this is represented, this flows up to the very top of this hierarchy, they're able to actually now have a voice comparable to wealthy donors at the moment. So really it's trying to bring this to modernize some of the donation systems. So ideally we want to leave the seed funding stage and move into Series A in the near future. We'll see. But you could check out the beta site at epistocracy.com, and also the deeper philosophy behind it. As we had talked before, the name is a little bit hard to pronounce. But that's it. I'll leave it open for questions. Yes?
How do you get individuals on the platform?
Yeah, so...
What's the benefit for me to go on that platform, just so I can have a voice?
Yeah, definitely. So pretty much it's, I mean, our initial marketing is more of a top-down strategy to actually target NGOs who actually want to mobilize all their members to actually affect these very niche political issues, because they're having a very difficult time getting their rather complex views out. So basically, they're able to spread it to their members, who are then able to mobilize and then affect a politician. So it's a little bit of a top-down effort, and that's how we'd probably reach the individuals. Later on, we could potentially try individual outreach for targeting political activists. So I don't know if that answers your question a little bit. Okay. Yes? Yeah, so right now, a lot of polling, the way it works is they'll do a cross-sectional analysis over a specific period of time. Now, what will happen is they'll actually, well, first of all, a lot of their questions are, they don't cover all the different political issues. They may just be as basic as, are you voting for Trump or Hillary? So we have a lot more granular data. The other aspect is, since this is only for a quick snapshot, it's not as accurate as if we had real-time updates on how these people are connected to other people and pretty much the lines of political influence and how your friends impact you. So that's kind of how our polling is a little bit more advanced, I suppose. Yes?
Have you thought about any integration of social media at all?
Yeah, so in terms of social media integration, especially for providing more accurate polling data, if we're able to connect specific demographics and coordinate that with people's stances on each one of these issues, then we can provide more accurate, higher degree of accuracy. The other thing is, in terms of mobilizing your friends behind a particular cause, right now you probably all have seen those posts on Facebook about your friend promoting a particular viewpoint. Now instead, we will hopefully integrate a little bit more closely so that people can translate their social network to a political network. So that's the current plan. So, yes? Yeah, so that's actually, it's an interesting question, and it's interesting because millennials right now are very politically apathetic. Actually, right now we've actually found that a lot of the older parts of the population have been more interested in joining than the millennials themselves, because they just feel their views aren't heard pretty much. But I won't get into that. But basically, so the older population has been actually easier to target for this, surprisingly, because it's actually a slower moving network. Because if you think about it, what scares a lot of older people away from these social networks is they kind of look chaotic. I mean, it's a little bit intimidating at first. It's very fast moving. You have hard political viewpoints that slowly change over time. So it's a little bit more intuitive for them. So actually our challenge is actually getting some of the millennials on and convincing them, this is a cultural shift, to convince them, okay, you can make a change with this. It's not always going to be these two parties. So that's kind of the difficulty on that side. Oh, yes. Okay, thank you.
You know, I always mean to and forget to say that this is not easy. It's not easy for anybody, and I think you're all amazing for coming out and sharing your babies in front of a crowd full of people. So I think we should give all three of our presenters a really rousing round of applause. Great job. Let me ask you a question. Did you practice?
Yes,
Did you practice out loud?
I did. I actually
honest.
found out I was presenting like 3 days ago.
Okay.
4 days. Yeah.
The major theme of the work that I do is that communication is a physical art form. Let me demonstrate that a couple of ways, or let me say it another way. Your voice is your body. Your voice is your body. If you physically engage your body, something happens to you as a vocalist, as a speaker. I would like to see you a little more energized. And I would like, the reason I bring up practice is that we need to embody the physical mode of speaking from the practicing. The problem with typing something out, practicing it intellectually, maybe sitting at our desk running through it to see if we remember it, is you ingrain unhelpful habits. The best way to combat things like too many ums, vocal monotony, is to practice in a physically engaged way. So I want to give one more drill, if you'll allow me up on stage with you. People who've been here before have probably seen this one before. It's called the finger walking drill. It's a great way to promote this linguistic precision I keep talking about. It simply works that as you draft or practice your content, you match one finger step per word. You'll notice an amazing thing happens. If you truly commit to connecting with the table or desk or whatever as you speak, you will eradicate ums. Something about physically engaging as we communicate relieves the need for unnecessary language. If you embed this kind of practice, then when you get on stage, our muscles remember things much, much, much more strongly than our brains do. Speaking is not an intellectual act. I encourage you all to take away that drill, to practice out loud. But truly, I think anyone who gets up and stands in front of a crowd and shares themselves, as all three of our speakers did tonight, is amazing. So thank you for having me. Cheers.
All right. Agreed. Well done, everybody. You have the clicker with you? You could keep that if you want. So, we're going to give out that trophy. Again, how about another round of applause to the three startups? It does take a lot to get up here. We do often describe it as like showing off your baby, and it's a very vulnerable position to be in, so good job, guys. So normally we have a fancy voting system. We're going super low-tech with the raising of hands. How many people think that Untapped, was that the first company? You guys were first, right? Should win that super swanky trophy in the Audience Choice Award tonight? All right. How many people think that Rapid SOS/Haven should win? Okay. And how many people think that Epistemocracy should win? What is that? Where'd he go? What does it mean?
Epistocracy. Oh, it's based on epistemic ability.
That helps. We'll talk more later. Congratulations to Rapid SOS and Regina and winning that prize. Good job.